Hey YouTube, it's the Scary Truth Catalyst here, and I'm back with part 2 of my Blueborn Coasteer kayak review. So after a year of using this thing, what do I think about this little kayak? And is it worth the money? Why don't you stick around and let's find out. In my last video about the Blueborn Coasteer, I spoke about its features and overall quality, but this time I'll be taking it out in the water. Firstly, I have to mention that one of the best features about this little kayak is its small size. I can just throw this thing into the boot of my small car and take it anywhere. And because it's so small, one of the really handy things about this kayak that I like the most is that it takes no time to inflate. As I mentioned in my last video, the Coasteer doesn't come with any paddles or even an air pump, so if you do decide to buy this thing, make sure you factor that into your budget. And of course, a buoyancy vest will have to be purchased separately too. On the rear section of the Coasteer, underneath the tiny cargo net, you will see a set of instructions printed onto the outer fabric of the kayak. Make sure you read these instructions carefully, as it tells you which sections of the kayak to inflate first and the correct air pressure to use, both in bar and psi. This is where I encountered my first problem with the Coasteer. While the kayak itself seems pretty high quality and durable, the little pressure gauge that comes with it is total rubbish and completely inaccurate. In fact, when I first inflated the Coasteer, I made sure that the pressure gauge had the correct reading of 1.5 psi, and when I sat on the deck of the craft, the entire thing almost folded and I got totally soaked. I finally figured out that the pressure gauge was faulty, and I basically had to estimate the correct pressure for myself. That little problem aside, I think that this kayak is definitely one of the best things I've ever bought on Amazon. For the price, I've had so much fun in this thing. I've taken it out in rivers, lakes, and even in the ocean, albeit close to the beach. In fact, as its name suggests, it really is intended to be used in the sea. Its design means that waves tend to break over the bow and the water simply drains out the back. It's really a very simple but clever design. One thing that I have realised about the Coasteer is that it's almost like a paddleboard, in the sense that when you use it, you should expect to get a little wet. In other words, it's for larking about in the water and having fun on a summer's day. If you intend to carry a lot of extra gear, which has to stay dry, for instance if you want to go camping, then this kayak wouldn't be a good choice. Sure, you can store some stuff up front, but it won't stay dry for long unless it's in a waterproof bag. Out in the water, the Coasteer feels very stable for an inflatable. It can also track through the water quite easily, although it will never be quite as good as a more expensive rigid kayak. I also noticed that I kept scraping my hands on the sides of the kayak as I paddled, as it's quite wide. Beyond that though, this is a tough, and I mean really tough and durable little boat. I have pulled it up beaches and over rocks, and the PVC hull has prevented any punctures or tears. This makes it great for exploring remote beaches and islands surrounded by shallow water. Also, the seat that comes with the kayak is quite comfortable and can be easily adjusted to suit your height. It can support your back effectively if you take the time to set it up correctly, and believe me, it makes a big difference. And that's about it really for my review of the Blueborn Coasteer. If you want to have some fun out in the water this summer, then it's definitely worth considering, especially if you're on a tight budget. Lastly, if you like this type of content, then hit that like button and consider subscribing. I'll catch you in the next video. Until then, stay scary.